The Galactic Security Council meeting room smelled of desperation and expensive cologne. Not a great combination, if you ask me. I, Vrax Thorn, Chief Intelligence Officer of the Zoltanian Empire, sat uncomfortably in my regulation chair, watching the so-called greatest minds of 7 galaxies argue about humans. Again, they are barbaric, unpredictable, dangerous, shouted Ambassador Plex, his upper tentacles flailing dramatically. Need I remind the Council of the Mars incident? I rolled all 4 of my eyes. The Mars incident was 23 cycles ago, and humans had apologized. Repeatedly. With fruit baskets. Ambassador, I said, trying to keep the sarcasm from dripping too noticeably, perhaps we could focus on the current situation rather than ancient history. The room fell silent. Unusual, since politicians love the sound of their own voice boxes more than a globulin loves its offspring, which is saying something. Because globulins eat their young, Intelligence Officer Thorn, Supreme Counselor Drav Mukhtar said, his voice deep and resonant. You have the floor. Tell us about this, human. I stood, adjusted my ceremonial sash, and cleared my throat. Her name is Alexis Keller. Age 34 Earth years. Lives in what they call Minnesota, a cold, flat region with an abundance of lakes and something called hot dish. She is not, I repeat, not on any military roster. Then why, interrupted Plex, unable to contain himself for more than 3 minutes, does she bear the mark? Good question. One that had kept me awake for 14 cycles straight. That's what makes this situation complicated, I admitted. The holoscreen behind me flickered to life, displaying an image of Alexis Keller, average height for a human female, brown hair cut in what humans called a bob, unremarkable features, except for her eyes, sharp, intelligent, constantly evaluating. And on her right forearm, partially visible beneath her rolled-up sleeve, the mark. For those unfamiliar with human military designations, I continued, this symbol indicates membership in a specialized unit known as Delta Force. Elite warriors. The best of their best. But you just said she's not military, said Counselor Zarya, her translucent skin pulsing with confusion. Correct. She runs a bookstore, sells coffee, bakes what humans call muffins. Her tax records show no military income. Her education records show no military training. Her medical records show no evidence of combat injuries or enhancements. Then the mark is fake, suggested Plex triumphantly. A fashion choice. Humans do this, they decorate their skin with images. I wished it were that simple. The mark is genuine. We have confirmed it with quantum signature analysis. This is not what humans call a tattoo. This is the actual quantum-embedded designation given only to their most lethal operatives. The room erupted in panic. Supreme Counselor Mukhtar banged his gavel, a primitive but effective tool for restoring order. What does Earth's government say about this? He demanded. They claim to have no knowledge of her. According to their official records, Alexis Keller is a civilian bookseller who has never served in any military capacity. They are lying, hissed Plex. Perhaps I conceded. But our deep cover agents on Earth have been monitoring her for 6 months. She bakes. She reads. She walks a small canine creature called Pancake. She attends something called yoga class 3 times weekly. She shows no signs of combat readiness. Then how do you explain the mark? Demanded Zarya. I tapped my datapad, and the holoscreen shifted to display a second human. Male. Tall. Gray-streaked dark hair. Hard eyes that had seen too much. This is Commander Jack Reeves, officially retired from Earth's military 5 years ago. Now works as a security consultant. He bears the same mark. 2 days ago, he made contact with Alexis Keller. The room fell silent again. Even Plex's tentacles stopped their constant twitching. Show us, ordered Mukhtar. I played the surveillance recording. The setting, Keller's bookstore, a quaint establishment called Between the Pages. Commander Reeves entered, browsed casually, selected a book about birds. approached the counter where Keller was serving a customer. Waited his turn. "Find everything okay?" Keller asked when it was his turn, her voice pleasant, ordinary. "Yes, thank you," said Reeves, placing the book on the counter. "I have been getting into bird watching. It helps pass the time in retirement." "Retirement suits some people," Keller said, scanning the book. "That will be $18.50. Reeves handed over a payment card. Their fingers brushed. Nothing unusual, except for how they both froze just for a microsecond. A pause so brief most species would miss it. "Weather's turning," Reeves said casually as she bagged the book. "It always does," replied Keller, equally casual. "Hummingbirds will be migrating soon. Page 42 has some great information about migration patterns." Reeves nodded, took his purchase, and left. The entire interaction lasted less than 2 minutes. I stopped the playback. Our linguistic analysts have reviewed this conversation extensively. Weather's turning is not a known code phrase in any Earth military communication system. Neither is any reference to hummingbirds or page 42, by all appearances. This was a mundane transaction between a bookstore owner and a customer. "But you don't believe that," said Mukhtar, studying me with his ancient, knowing eyes. "No," I admitted. "I don't." I advanced the surveillance footage. 3 hours later, the bookstore closed. Keller walked home with her small dog, Pancake. He entered her dwelling, prepared and consumed a simple meal, read for approximately 43 minutes. Then, at precisely 21:47 local time, she opened the book Reeves had purchased, the exact same title, to page 42. There was nothing unusual on the page, just information about bird migration patterns, as she had told Reeves. But Keller stared at it for exactly 60 seconds. Then closed the book, walked to her bedroom closet, and moved aside her clothing. Behind it, a wall panel that our scans had never detected. She pressed her hand to it, and it recognized her print, sliding open silently. From within, she removed a small metal case, opened it. Inside was a device unknown to our technology database. She activated it, and immediately all our surveillance systems within a half-kilometer radius went offline. "What happened next?" demanded Plex. "We don't know," I admitted. When our systems came back online 43 minutes later, she was back in her living area, reading the same book as if nothing had happened. "And Commander Reeves?" "His whereabouts during the blackout period are unknown. His assigned surveillance team lost him shortly after he left the bookstore." Counselor Zaria's translucent skin was now pulsing rapidly with alarm. "What does this mean, Officer Thorne?" I took a deep breath. "It means we have a human with a top-secret military designation who is not in the military, who has unexplained technology capable of bypassing our most advanced surveillance, and who has now made contact with a known Earth Special Forces commander. All while Earth's government insists she's just a bookseller." "Assessment of threat level?" asked Mukhtar quietly. "Critical," I replied without hesitation. "Whatever Alexis Keller truly is, she represents something Earth doesn't want us to know about. And in my extensive experience with humans, the things they try hardest to hide are the things we most need to worry about." "Recommendations?" "We have 2 options," I said. "First, we can attempt to capture and interrogate Keller to learn what she knows and what she's planning." "And the second option?" prompted Mukhtar. "We observe, we wait, we learn. Something is happening, and Keller is at the center of it. But moving against her prematurely could trigger whatever she's preparing for." "Or accelerate it," muttered Plex. For once, the ambassador and I agreed on something. Terrifying. "There's one more thing you should know," I added. 3 days ago, before Reeves made contact, our algorithms detected an unusual pattern in Earth's global communications network. Brief, encrypted bursts, bouncing between servers across their planet. When our analysts finally broke through the encryption, they found only a single phrase, repeated in 47 languages. "What phrase?" asked Mukhtar. I called it up on my datapad and read it aloud. "The gardener has awakened. Prepare the soil. Die." The council chamber erupted into chaos again. This time, even Mukhtar's gavel couldn't quickly restore order. When the noise finally subsided, I continued, "We have no idea what it means." But 12 hours after those messages went out, 7 retired human military operatives, all bearing the same mark as Keller and Reeves, disappeared from our surveillance. "They are mobilizing," whispered Zarya. "But for what?" "We don't know," I admitted. "But whatever the soil is, I suspect we won't like what they are planning to grow in it." I returned to my seat as the council descended into frantic debate. As they argued about evacuation protocols and military responses, I found myself staring at the frozen image of Alexis Keller on the holoscreen. Those eyes. Calculating. Patient. Knowing. My personal communicator vibrated. A message from my most deeply embedded agent on Earth. Or words that made my blood run cold. There are more like her. As the council continued their pointless deliberations, I quietly accessed our intelligence database, searching for any other instances of civilians bearing military marks. The results began populating my screen. A teacher in Australia, a taxi driver in Brazil, a chef in Japan, a nurse in Egypt, all normal, everyday people. None with military records, all with the same quantum-embedded mark, hidden from casual observation but unmistakable to our advanced scanning technology. And all of them, in the past 24 hours, had purchased books about birds. The Galactic Security Council was still debating whether to apprehend one human bookseller. They had no idea what we were really facing. I looked again at the image of Alexis Keller with her intelligent eyes and secret mark. She wasn't on any military roster. But that mark was Earth's most dangerous honor. And whatever the gardener was planning to grow, I had a feeling the harvest was coming soon. Very soon indeed. 3 days after the Galactic Security Council meeting, I found myself on Earth. Not my first choice of vacation spots, considering humans still think hand-shaking is an acceptable greeting rather than the obvious germ-swapping ritual it clearly is. But here I was in Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes and one very suspicious bookseller. "You realize this is completely unauthorized," muttered Greg Vallon, my field operations specialist, as we sat in our cloaked observation vehicle across from between the pages. His gray scales rippled with anxiety. "If the council finds out you have gone planetside without approval, they will what? Fire me? Execute me?" "Either way, I won't have to sit through another one of Plex's speeches about the Mars incident," I replied, adjusting our surveillance equipment. "Besides, the council is still voting on whether to form a committee to discuss the possibility of maybe considering action. By then, whatever the gardener is planning will be in full bloom." Greg snorted. "Floral metaphors now? You have been on Earth too long already." 12 hours is hardly. I stopped mid-sentence. "She's moving." Alexis Keller had emerged from her bookstore, locking the door behind her. No dog today, no yoga mat. Instead, she wore practical clothing, carried a small backpack, and moved with purpose. Different from her usual casual stride. To follow her, I instructed. Maintain maximum distance. Remember what happened to our surveillance systems. Greg piloted our vehicle carefully, keeping Keller in sight as she walked 6 blocks, then entered a nondescript coffee shop called Daily Grind. Through the window, we watched her approach the counter, order a drink, then take a seat near the back. "Riveting," Greg said dryly. "She drinks coffee." Truly the behavior of a dangerous operative. "Patience," I counseled, focusing my optical enhancers on her table. "She's waiting for someone." Sure enough, 7 minutes later, a human male entered the coffee shop. Average height. Glasses. Slightly disheveled appearance. He ordered, then surveyed the room as if looking for someone. His gaze landed on Keller. No recognition flashed across either face, but he moved directly to her table. "Mind if I sit here?" he asked. "Place is packed." It wasn't. At least 8 other tables were empty. "Be my guest," Keller replied pleasantly. The man sat, opened a laptop computer, and appeared to begin working. Keller continued reading her book. To anyone observing casually, they were strangers sharing a table by necessity. But our enhanced audio caught what happened next. "The forecasters are predicting an early frost," the man said quietly, not looking up from his screen. "I'd better cover the garden," then Keller replied, turning a page in her book. "Some plants are more vulnerable than others." "True. The exotic ones need special attention. I have always been partial to Andromeda flowers myself." My blood froze. Andromeda. The galaxy, not the flower. They were talking about us. "Beautiful, but delicate," Keller agreed. "Require the right touch. When's the best time to prune them?" "When they start reaching where they shouldn't." Grack looked at me, his scales now pale with alarm. "That sounds like a threat," I finished grimly. "They know we are watching." The man closed his laptop. "My collection expands next week. Big delivery coming." "How wonderful," Keller smiled. "Anything special?" "Mostly Epsilon varieties. Some from Orion's belt." I nearly dropped my scanner. Epsilon's sector was home to our primary defense fleet. Orion's belt housed our most classified research facilities. "They are discussing military targets," Grack whispered. Before I could respond, both humans stood simultaneously, as if responding to a signal we couldn't detect. They left the coffee shop separately, walking in opposite directions. "Follow the mail," I instructed Grack. "I will track Keller." "Standard pursuit protocols?" "Nothing about this is standard," I replied, exiting our vehicle while activating my personal cloaking device. "Stay alert." "And Grack? If something happens to me, get this information to the Council immediately." He nodded, his scales rippling with determination as he followed the male subject. I pursued Keller on foot, maintaining a safe distance. She walked briskly for 12 minutes, then entered a small public park. Midday, the area was busy with humans enjoying their brief time outdoors before winter would drive them back into their heated habitats. Keller sat on a bench overlooking a pond, appearing to enjoy the scenery. A moment later, Commander Reeves appeared, sitting beside her. Neither acknowledged the other. "Package delivered," he said softly. "Distribution network active?" Keller asked, still gazing at the pond. "All points responsive. Awaiting final authorization." "Timeline?" "Why?" 48 hours. "Opposition?" Aware but confused. "One agent has gone off reservation, getting closer than the others." They were talking about me. I instinctively checked my cloaking device, functioning perfectly. How did they know? "Neutralize?" Reeves asked, his tone casual as if discussing the weather. My hand moved to my sidearm. "No," Keller replied after a moment. "Observe only." "They might be useful." "Risky." "So is what we are about to do." Reeves nodded slightly. "The Epsilon coordinator wants confirmation. All gardeners are go. The soil is prepared." "And afterward?" Keller turned to look directly at Reeves, and for the first time I saw something dangerous flash across her face. "Afterward, the galaxy learns why you don't threaten Earth." They stood, and once again walked away in separate directions. I remained frozen, processing what I'd heard. This wasn't just some covert operation. This was something far larger. Something involving military targets across Andromeda Galaxy. My communicator vibrated. Grack's voice came through, tense and quiet. "Target entered residential building on Henderson Avenue. 7 other individuals inside. All bearing the mark. All supposedly non-military. Teacher. Doctor. Electrician. Bus driver. Software developer. Journalist. Florist." "A cell," I murmured. "One of many, I suspect." "That's not all," Grack continued. "They are assembling something." I managed to get a scan through an open window. Technology we have never seen before. Extremely advanced. Quantum signatures unlike anything in our database. What does it do? Unknown. But it's giving off energy readings similar to our dimensional shift technology, only much more refined, dimensional shift technology. Our most advanced weapons systems used it to bypass conventional defenses. But we'd only managed to create short-range, limited applications. If humans had mastered it. "Get back to the ship," I ordered. "We need to alert the Council immediately." "Already heading there," Grack confirmed. "Meet you at the rendezvous point in 20 minutes." I turned to follow Keller, only to find she had vanished. Cursing, I activated my bioscanners, searching for her unique signature. Nothing. A chill ran down my spine. Advanced technology. Military targets. The gardener has awakened. Prepare the soil. Whatever humanity was planning, it was happening soon. And we had no idea what we were facing. Returning to our ship proved more complicated than expected. 3 blocks from the rendezvous point, my scanner detected multiple human biosignatures converging on my position, all moving with purposeful coordination, all civilians. All, I suspected, bearing the mark. They knew I was here. Somehow, they knew exactly where I was. I ducked into an alley, deactivated my cloaking device to conserve power, and contacted Grack. "Situation compromised," I whispered. "Multiple hostiles converging on my position." "I see them," Grack replied. 9 individuals, surrounding your location in a standard military containment pattern. How can civilians execute such perfect tactical coordination? Because they are not civilians, I realized aloud. At least, not only civilians. Whatever this mark represents, it's something we have never encountered before. "I can create a diversion," Grack offered. "Draw them away long enough for you to reach the ship." "Negative," I replied, watching as a human female, a postal carrier by her uniform, took position at the alley entrance, pretending to sort mail. "They are too coordinated. Get the ship ready for immediate departure. I will find another way out." I ended the communication and assessed my surroundings. The alley connected to a service corridor behind several businesses. If I could reach it without being spotted. "Officer Thorne," said a voice behind me. "I believe we are overdue for a conversation." I spun around, weapon drawn, to find Alexis Keller standing there, alone, unarmed, smiling pleasantly as if we'd bumped into each other at a social function. "How did you know you were following me? Know you are not human? Know your name and rank?" She shrugged. "That would be telling." "You are surrounded," I bluffed. "My team has this entire block secured." "You mean Grack?" "He's quite safe, I assure you. In fact, he's probably boarding your ship right now, wondering where you are." Her smile remained pleasant, but her eyes were cold. "We are not going to hurt you, Officer Thorne. We just want to talk." "About what? Your plans for Andromeda? The targets you have selected? The weapon you are building?" Something flickered across her face. "Surprise?" "No, amusement. Is that what you think this is? An attack?" She actually laughed. "You really don't understand us at all, do you?" Before I could respond, she reached into her pocket. I tensed, but she simply withdrew a small device, not unlike the one I'd seen her retrieve from her hidden compartment. "This isn't a weapon, Officer Thorne. It's a key." "To what?" "What?" To understanding. She pressed a button on the device. "Right now, a similar device is activating in every major city on Earth. And in precisely 12 hours, your Galactic Security Council will receive a message they won't soon forget." My mind raced. The gardener. The soil. What does it mean? "It means," she said, her voice now deadly serious, "that humanity has been watching. Waiting. Preparing. We know about the Council's contingency plans for Earth. The sterilization protocols. The invasion scenarios. We know everything." Cold dread washed over me. Those were our most classified security measures developed after the Mars incident. No human should know they existed. How? What? Because we planted the seeds long ago, Officer Thorne, seeds that grew into a garden you never noticed. She gestured to herself. What do you see when you look at me? A bookseller. What about the others? Teachers. Doctors. Ordinary people living ordinary lives. With military marks, I countered. Not military, she corrected. Something much older, much more fundamental to who we are as a species. She rolled up her sleeve, revealing the mark I'd seen in our surveillance. Up close, it was even more strange. Not quite a tattoo, not quite a scar, almost as if it were part of her cellular structure itself. This is the mark of the gardeners, she explained. Humans selected from birth for certain aptitudes. We live normal lives, hold normal jobs, but we watch, we listen, we prepare. For what? For moments like this, she replied. When someone like you discovers us and assumes the worst. When your council debates whether to neutralize us as a potential threat. I stared at her, understanding slowly dawning. You are not planning an attack. You are activating a defense network. Finally, she smiled. Some actual intelligence from intelligence. But the targets, Epsilon Sector, Orion's Belt, not targets, monitors. For 50 years, we have been seeding your military installations, research facilities, and government centers with quantum-entangled observation nodes, microscopic, undetectable, allowing us to know exactly what you are planning before you plan it. I felt sick. Our most secure facilities compromised for decades without our knowledge. And now? And now we are letting you know that we know, she said simply. The message your council will receive isn't a declaration of war. It's a reminder that humanity will not be caught unprepared. Ever. She stepped closer, her voice dropping. The first alien species that made contact with Earth thought we were primitive, harmless. They learned the hard way that appearances can be deceiving. We decided then that we would never again appear vulnerable. The gardeners, I murmured. A hidden defense force disguised as civilians. More than that, she corrected. We are the warning system. The first line. The ones who look like the least threat but can activate Earth's defenses in seconds if needed. My communicator buzzed urgently. Grak's voice came through, panicked. Something's happening. Energy signatures activating globally across Earth. Quantum disturbances detected in every major council facility across 3 galaxies. Thorn, what is happening? Keller smiled at the sound. That would be the soil being prepared. By this time tomorrow, every species in the Galactic Alliance will know that Earth sees everything, knows everything, and is ready for anything. She turned to leave, then paused. You are free to go, Officer Thorn. Tell your council what you have learned today. Tell them that humans don't want war. We never have. But also tell them this, the gardener is always watching, and the garden will be protected. As she walked away, my scanner suddenly detected hundreds, then thousands of quantum signatures activating across the planet. Not weapons, as I had feared, but a vast, interconnected network of observation posts, all operated by ordinary humans bearing an extraordinary mark. 3 days later, I stood before the Galactic Security Council again, delivering the most difficult report of my career. In conclusion, I said to the stunned assembly, humanity does not pose an immediate military threat to the Alliance. However, their defensive capabilities and intelligence network are substantially beyond what we estimated. They have been watching us for decades, Mukhtar said quietly, without our knowledge. Yes, Supreme Counselor. Through their Gardener program, they have established what might be the most sophisticated intelligence operation in galactic history, all while appearing to be nothing more than a relatively young, somewhat primitive species. And these marked individuals, Ambassador Plex asked, his tentacles unusually still, they live normal lives? Only activating when needed? Correct. They are mothers, fathers, teachers, shopkeepers. The mark is genetic, passed down through certain bloodlines. They undergo specialized training from childhood, but otherwise live completely integrated into human society. Ingenious, whispered Zarya. Hide your warriors in plain sight. Make them indistinguishable from civilians. Not warriors, I corrected. Watchers. The first alert system. Earth's real defenses are something else entirely. I chose not to elaborate on the glimpses of technology I'd seen. Some nightmares were best left undescribed. Your recommendation, Officer Thorne? Mukhtar asked. I took a deep breath. Immediate revision of our Earth protocols. A full disclosure of our contingency plans. And a formal alliance proposal. We have underestimated them for too long. It's time we recognized humans for what they truly are, not a primitive species to be managed, but a formidable power to be respected. As the council erupted into discussion, my personal communicator vibrated. A message from an unknown source, but I knew immediately who it was from. The garden grows best when tended by many hands. Your seat at the table awaits, AK. I couldn't help but smile. Alexis Keller, the unassuming bookseller with the dangerous mark, had just offered an olive branch. And perhaps something more, a recognition that in this vast, often hostile universe, those who watch the darkness might do better to watch it together. She wasn't on any military roster. But that mark was Earth's most dangerous honor. And now, perhaps, it would become the galaxy's greatest hope.